everybody. Welcome to One Bookshelf's lunch break. This week we'll be doing Learn to Play, where people from One Bookshelf will learn how to play a game. Today we will be learning to play They Came From Beneath the Sea, and we have a very special guest with us as well. Before we jump into it, we'll start with introductions, and I'm just going to go in the Zoom order. So Lysa, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I am Lysa Penrose. I am the brand manager over at Dungeon Masters Guild, and I know nothing about this game. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Lysa, thank you so much. Adriel.
Hi, I am Adriel Wilson, and I am the indie publisher relations representative here at DriveThruRPG. And I also am super excited to play this game because I have never played it before.
Awesome. I am Meredith Gerber. I am the Century Publisher Relations representative at DriveThruRPG, which means I take care of the top 100. I have played this game one time, so I'm very excited to play again. And then we have our super special guest, Matthew Dawkins. Matthew, can you introduce yourself?
Hello. Yes, my name is Matthew Dawkins. I am the developer of They Came From Beneath the Sea. It's a game by Onyx Publishing. They Came From Beneath the Sea is a 1950s B-movie sci-fi extravaganza, a bit of horror, a bit of ham, a bit of camp. It's a game that can be played straight or it can be played silly. We'll probably lean toward the silly in this session, but we'll see how it goes. And yeah, the main objective, what we're trying to do is we're going to create some characters and we will have a little play around with the system and maybe get a little bit of plot in. You never know. But yeah, I think it will be fun.
Good. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions during this time when we're filling out sheets, or if you have questions during the plot, you're more than welcome to ask in the Twitch channel with big letters question, and then I will make sure that it gets to the right person. So as I said, we're learning They Came From Beneath the Sea. Very excited. I'm not going to talk too much because I just want to get right into it. So Matthew, do you want to start with character creation, or do you want to give a little bit more?
It would be the natural place to start, so let's do it.
Thank you.
Although, actually, on the subject of lore and meta plot and that kind of thing, while this game is set in an alternate version of the 1950s, because as far as we know, we weren't invaded by crab people, Gilkin, and the like. It's a game that doesn't have a sort of codified meta plot. You don't have to play it a certain way. Successive books in the line don't build on setting established in previous books. It's all very much a toolbox. So really what you've got to have in mind when you create your characters is it's 1950s Americana. There's a bit of an atomic scare, Red Scare atmosphere going on. Suburbia, when you picture it, is as suburbia appears in 1950s movies. So it's often a lot of sort of trilbies and white picket fences and housewives and nuclear families and that kind of thing. And yet, beneath that veneer of American perfection, there is, of course, a seedy underbelly, which in this case largely rests on the creatures that are going to invade from beneath the sea. We will assume in this game that your characters have no knowledge of said aquatic invaders, so that anything that they come across will be a complete surprise. Now, you all have a copy of the character sheet, unless I'm very much mistaken.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So I will get up my own copy of the character sheet so that I can talk you through it. So in traditional character sheet style, it starts with a name and a player. We'll know who the player is because that's you. Name we'll leave blank because that's often the hardest part. Concept is, as with most role-playing games, a simple sentence that summarizes who your character is, the kind of character you want to play in this game. And again, that's something you can come back to. The main thing that you want to pick at this point, and don't worry about balance, if you all want to play the same archetype you can, is archetype. Now, archetypes are your character classes, your clans, your big brackets that your characters fit in. And in the Beneath the Sea core book, you have 5 different archetypes. You have the everyman. The everyman is your blue-collar, working-class hero that just wants to defend their patch of land before that kind of terminology became a bit toxic. You've got G-Man. The G-Man, or sheriff, or law, is as the name implies, the Hoover boy from Washington, or the county sheriff, or anyone who has authority over others. You have the Mouth. The Mouth is often a plucky journalist, an upcoming actor, a beatnik musician, that kind of thing. Very much, as the name implies, the talker of the team. You also have the Scientist, whether they are a little eccentric or otherwise. If you think of the movies from which this game is pulled, there's often an atomic theme to these scientists. If they can put radiation in something, they will. And they think it will make it better. Probably not. And then you also have the Survivor. The Survivor is your rugged individualist who may be a veteran from some recent war, maybe the Korean War, perhaps the Second World War, and has decided they're going to live alone in a trailer in a shack without necessarily going all Unabomber with it. Although, you know, if the game takes that turn, maybe. Either way, you have your 5 archetypes. You've got Everymen, G-Men, Mouths, Scientists, and Survivors. And I should hasten to add that despite the fact that some of these archetypes have words like man in, there is no assumption that you automatically have to play men. It just uses the terms common to the time. So, I will start with, I'll go with the order that's on my screen, just to see who is interested in saying what they want to pick. Lysa, is there an archetype you're drawn to?
So when we were talking about concept, and I know you said we don't know there's stuff in the ocean, but I want to be a landlocked mermaid, so I have legs right now, who's disguised as like a suburban housewife. And I'm going to say the reason she's doing this is she's the survivor. She knows that there's something wrong in the sea, but she's not telling anybody because she doesn't want anyone to know her identity.
So she's deep undercover.
Yeah.
There is a creature type in this book called the Seahorse people, who cast the shadows of seahorses even though they look and walk like humans. So that may be what you are.
Oh my gosh, I have a little seahorse.
That's so great.
I love that.
You are the seahorse that walked like a human and is posing as a simple suburban housewife, but harbors this dark secret. And how about Adriel?
I would like to be the scientist, and I think that I am a genius kid at the local high school who is interested in all things biological and natural.
Okay, so maybe a marine biologist then?
Yeah.
Well, upcoming if he's at the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, I like that. Maybe you've got some suspicions about what's going on in the water. Maybe the fishing has been, I guess, worse than usual in most recent seasons. And so, and that's piqued your interest, but the teacher just won't hear it, isn't interested in what you have to say. You're just a kid, a dumb kid is what the teacher says to you. But you know different.
Yeah.
And maybe the only person that listens to you is Lisa's housewife, who I think, you know, it might make sense if you want to have a profession aside from housewife, Lysa. Maybe you run the local diner. This is the 1950s after all. And maybe our high school kid goes there to vent their woes over a dollar milkshake.
Absolutely. I want it to be one of those cute, like, specific, what are they called, like soda fountains or something?
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay. I run a soda fountain.
Yeah. You can picture it in your mind the way these diners always look. It's the bench seats. There's the Whirlwitzer jukebox. You know, that kind of thing. And that leaves Meredith. Meredith, what are you interested in playing?
I was, of course, interested for nostalgic purposes to play a researcher, but I want to, I think, go to Lysa's soda shop and be the person that kind of sits there with a coffee all day, fussing over theories and fussing over like conspiracies and things like that. To all but no one believes her, of course. So she goes to the diner to kind of research and find, hopefully keep an ear out for new information.
So everyone probably thinks you're a bit of an oddball. You keep to yourself, you're drinking coffee all day, you're reading the National Enquirer or whatever is in publication in the 1950s. No one takes you seriously, but you still buy coffee every day, so, you can't, you're not going to get kicked to the curb. No. Okay, all right. So we have both archetypes and concepts. Which archetype were you thinking then? Scientist or are you thinking more of a conspiracy theorist in the mouth vein? Someone who wants to tell the story, someone who wants to write the story and let everyone know what's going on?
I think I'm going to go with scientist. I think that's going to help me. And that helps me connect with Adriel too. So, which is good.
Lovely. Okay, then. All right, so moving on down the character sheet then. As you will see on the character sheet, they came from beneath the sea, used the story path system, which is a skills plus attributes dice pool system. It's all D10s. You'll be familiar with this kind of mechanic, watchers, viewers, if you have played any kind of World of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness, or indeed story path game like Trinity. D10 dice pools. You add the number of dots you have in a skill to the number of dots you have in an attribute. You roll that many dice, and you look for 8s and above as your successes. 10s count as 2 successes, and 1s are results you really don't want to get. If you fail entirely and roll a 1, it's a botch. So fun stuff happens when that occurs. So let's talk about the assignment of points then. So going through our skills, before we can assign them, we need to know what skills you have access to. Now, in They Came From Beneath the Sea, you have a certain amount of room to choose which skills you match to your paths. In Story Path, you have 3 paths. Our first path is Archetype, which you've already selected. Now, the paths, let's see, we'll go for the scientist's suggested skills, first of all, because we've got 2 of them. And our book suggests that scientists are likely to have culture, enigmas, medicine, and science, unsurprisingly enough, as their 4 archetype-linked skills. Now, what I usually do on the character sheet is I will write AR in that little blank space next to the skill name. So that tells me it's an archetype skill, so R. If you want to customize at all, use scientists in the group, then by all means swap out culture for technology if that's the kind of scientist you're playing with, or enigmas for aim if you're a gun-toting scientist. There will be the opportunity, as you pick other paths, to fill in some of the other blanks. So no need to worry. So those are your 4 suggested skills, but the important thing is just select 4 skills at this time. So then we have our survivor, our seahorse lady, whose suggested skills for the survivor are athletics, close combat, integrity, and survival. Again, ties to the survivor theme, perhaps more than the housewife theme, but we will get to that part, as that will probably be part of your origin or your ambition path, which we'll get to very shortly. So, don't you worry, you don't need to assign any dots yet, you're just marking them to know that you have got access to those skills. Okay then, so next up we have our other paths. So again, there's suggested paths in the book. These might range in the origin bracket. They might range between things like street punk or silver spoon or suburbia, that kind of thing. And they will suggest various skills to go along with them. You can make those paths up, or you can go with the ones in the book. It really doesn't matter. Your creativity is your only limitation. For the sake of this session, we'll have a look at some of the origin paths that are in the book and see what matches up. So let's have a look at some origin paths and tell me if any of these appeal to any of you. We have adventurer as an origin, someone who likes to travel the world, see the sights. We have life of privilege, which it speaks for itself. We have military brat. We have outdoors enthusiast. We have street rat. We have suburbia, as already mentioned. And yeah, so that's a few options. Do any of those appeal to any of you?
Suburbia, for me, I think would be a good fit.
It does make sense. So your recommended skills are culture, empathy, humanities, and technology. So again, just to mark off the ones you've got, you can put an O next to those because it's your origin path. And if there's crossover between your archetype and your origin, that's fine. It just means you can put more skill points into that given skill if you so wish. Alternatively, if you don't want crossover, if you want to be finely spread, then choose another skill that you think is more appropriate to you.
Okay.
And how about the other two of you?
You go ahead, Meredith.
Okay. I was going to pick outdoorsy.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe you live in an RV neighborhood, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, yeah, the recommended skills for an outdoors enthusiast are aim, close combat, medicine, and survival. Again, move them around as you see fit. So then we have our aspiring biologist, our high school kid. What are you thinking?
I'll go with military brat.
Okay, all right. That's good. It means we can even say there might be a military base nearby. So the recommended skills for military brat are command, enigmas, integrity, and technology. All right, then. So then we have ambitions. Ambitions tend toward the personal, but they can be aspirational in the, I guess, professional sense. And once again, they link to 4 different skills. So the suggested ones are something like best friends. You really just want to make a friend. It sounds very simple, but it's a good ambition to have if you don't have a friend. There's community leader. You want to be the leader of the community. You want to do something that is going to put you at the top. Family. You are driven to support and strengthen your family. Love. Your ambition is to fall in love with someone. Lone wolf. You'll work with people for a little while, but ultimately you know you'll end up alone, and so you've got no blinkers on that. And out for revenge. Someone who's been wronged in the past and wants to get even with the wrongdoers. So let's start with Lysa again.
I'm going to pick love, but I'm going to say that it's sort of like a Little Mermaid Ariel situation.
Yeah.
Whatever that
That's
means
sweet.
to anybody.
That's sweet.
It's a very innocent kind of love. It's a groovy kind of love, you could say. And the skills linked to that suggested are, let's just have a look. We've got, let's see, I'm just noting this down. Well, you've got a lot of freedom here because the suggestion we have puts the person being already in love with someone, but maybe it's unrequited. And so the skills are very much about sort of getting attention or winning someone's affection, that kind of thing. So the suggested skills, which may not match with the Little Mermaid innocence, are athletics, larceny, persuasion, and science.
Larceny absolutely matches. Lisa, please pick up larceny.
I definitely am going to take larceny. I'm going to take athletics because I also moved my technology skill to athletics just because I want to be a really good swimmer.
Okay. Empathy makes sense if you are very much driven by that. And maybe humanities?
Yeah, horsemanities. Yes.
Mm.
And I'm gonna just pick up larceny, just because I think that's fun.
Larceny's fun.
Yeah.
In the game. Not trying to encourage anyone. And how about you, Adriel?
I think that my ambition will be to make a friend because I've moved so much.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So the suggested skills for friends are either linked to the fact that you have a friend and you don't want to lose them, or that you want to earn a friend, or find a friend. So maybe you'll fight for friendship. So it suggests skills like close combat. Makes sense. Culture, because you're understanding people, you want to find a common interest. Again, we suggest larceny because clearly we cannot get enough of stealing things to earn someone's friendship. And pilot. Now, pilot's an interesting one because in the 1950s, honestly, you're only going to make a friend if you have a hot rod or other souped up car. So pilot's a good one to have.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's all right. And what about you, Meredith?
I'm looking for a friend too, someone who believes me.
Well, we've got two scientists who are looking for friends. Well, I'm going to suggest then, because your one comes from a greater place of, dare I say it, desperation. Someone who believes your theories. Let's suggest that your ones are probably, again, going to be, I think, command, because you want people to listen.
Yep.
Culture, again, because culture is, in a way, your relatability to people. As with empathy. And as you so strongly believe in what you're saying, I think integrity would work well.
Okay. Awesome.
So now that we've done that, we've basically created our paths short of their connections. We're not going to do connections in this session. There's a few things in They Came From Beneath the Sea that work best for longer play. And to avoid going through lists or anything like that, we will skip over them for the purposes of this demonstration. We'll just go through the sort of core beats, but there's a lot of optional bits you can sort of bolt on or take off to the game. So let's look at your skill points, because they are a very important part of having skills. So your characters begin with a total of 16 skills, each rated from 0 to 5. And your characters will have, let's see, you're going to have 4 points per path, and then an additional 3 to spend wherever you see fit. So when I say 4 points per path, you notice that you've got 4 skills, where you've got 4 points to spread between them. You don't have to spread 1, 1, 1, 1. You can do if you want, but if you want to ultra specialize, what you could do is put all 4 into one skill. And what that means is those other skills aren't redundant. It means that when you get experience across the course of the game, you can basically say, I am increasing my skill in this path, or I'm putting experience into this path, which means you get more experience to put specifically in the skills that are linked to that path, if that makes sense. So you can talk me through it if you wish, but that is basically the way it goes. So yeah, 4, 4, 4, and then afterwards get another 3 that you can put anywhere, whether it's linked to paths or not. Okay. So I'm kind of talking to fill the silence because I know you're all assigning points right now. Yeah. But does anyone have any particular assignment of skills they want to talk about?
Again, I want to be really good at athletics because I swim so much. So I'm trying to figure out what I don't want to put points in so I can put extra points in athletics. Yeah. I also like empathy. Okay.
The skill on here, humanities, what does it do? Is it more like the traditional study of literature, etc.? Or...
Yeah, it will be things like that, the local history of the area, that kind of thing.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3. Gotta get that larceny in there.
You have to.
4. And then I have 3 more points I can put in.
Anywhere you like. So while you're all doing this, something I'll say for the sake of the viewers is They Came From Beneath the Sea. A lot of people only play it as a one-shot game because they very much go in with that movie mentality that there's a story from beginning to end, you tell it, boom, create new characters for the next session. And that works perfectly well. The game is eminently suited to that. But there is the scope built into it for you to have experience and therefore fill up skills that you don't assign at the beginning of the game. So whether characters decide to go specialized or be all-rounders doesn't matter too much, but I suggest when doing one-shots, specialization is often more fun because it results in either greater successes and greater failures, which makes for more interesting stories, honestly.
I'm definitely specialized in athletics and pretty good at empathy, and then okay at culture and humanities. A few other things have one little checkbox too.
Yeah, command is my command and empathy are my least. So I guess I'm sort of commanding, but we'll see. With my highest in science and integrity, and then have some close combat in there because I gotta have some close combat.
Yeah, there's bound to be some kind of fisticuffs, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a role-playing game. What conflict isn't solved through violence?
I dumped athletics and have 2 points in enigmas and medicine and 3 in science.
Yeah.
And the rest all 1.
Yeah, I dumped integrity just because I'm lying about my whole existence. But I like imagining that she gains integrity along the way.
I feel like that's fair.
Okay, then. All right, so now we're on to attributes. Everyone starts with an automatic dot in every single attribute, so there will never be an occasion where you're not rolling at least 1 die in this game. When it comes to the pairing of skills and attributes, you may not have the skills, but you'll always have the basic human or seahorse, in this case, capability to act. So you have to rank the arenas, being physical, social, and mental, or the other way around, in whichever way you see fit, whatever you think is your character's strongest suit compared to their weakest. It doesn't have to be the suit they prefer, it's basically how they are built. This is their natural talent, if you want, rather than their learned skills. So you get 6 dots to distribute among the 3 attributes in your top ranked arena, 4 in the middle rank, and 2 in the bottom rank. So as you can see, that's going to result in 1 attribute being left at a humble 1 dot at this stage. But don't worry, there will be the opportunity to increase it.
Can you say those numbers one more time?
Yes. So you have there's 9 attributes on the sheet. They're divided into 3 arenas of mental, physical, social. And you can basically choose which arena is your primary, which one is your secondary, which one is your tertiary. The primary one gets 6 dots split between the 3 of them. The secondary gets 4, and the tertiary gets 2.
Okay. So I'm gonna say, because I put so much in athletics, I think it makes sense that I'm a very physical, athletic person. That will be my top. So I'll put 6 in those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So yeah, for the sake of the viewers, the attributes in this game, the mental ones are intellect, cunning, and resolve. The physical ones are might, dexterity, and stamina. the social are presence, manipulation, and composure. You may be able to pick up on the fact that the first of each of those brackets is a forceful attribute. That's what it's called. It's a forceful approach. So intellect, might, and presence are all force attributes. Cunning, dexterity, and manipulation are all finesse attributes. Resolve, stamina, and composure are all resilience attributes. And that will play into the next stage of character creation.
Okay. I have distributed my dots.
Has everyone distributed their dots?
Yep.
Yep, lovely. Okay, so now you choose your favored approach. You can make a mark in the box next to the row that is your favored approach, whether it's force, finesse, or resilience. What this basically tells us is how your character does prefer to conduct themselves. It doesn't have to be what you're best at. This is just how you prefer to act. And when you select a favored approach, you then put one additional dot in each of the attributes in your character's favored approach. No attribute may have more than 5 dots at character creation, I should add. If it would take an attribute over 5, you may spend the extra dot on any of the other attributes in the same arena as the maxed out one.
Nice. My favorite approach is force.
Thank you.
And Meredith?
I took finesse, unlike everybody, so that's where I'm at.
Okay. And final thing with attributes is you get 1 free dot to place in whichever one you like. So you may be able to tell, again, attributes in this game are fairly top-heavy. You'll have quite a few dots and attributes. Again, it means you're very rarely rolling tiny dice pools, but it's the skills that tend to be the deciding factor over how successful you are, of course. When the difficulty margin is 8 and above on your dice, you generally, from a probability standpoint, want to be rolling about 4 or more dice. But, you know, anything less than that, and that's the chance factor.
Matthew, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Why did you pick that as a design? To have it like front loaded?
So it's because for me, this was already baked into story path before I came along, but I think it works very well for They Came From Beneath the Sea because, and all of the other They Came From games we've got coming out, because attributes are very much about personality. And I think that They Came From games have characters who are almost sort of defined by being these silver screen or Technicolor personalities. They're probably going to be more about force or finesse or resilience than they are about the finer details of humanities and science and so on. Doesn't mean they're not as useful, but it probably doesn't make them the headline as opposed to the attributes.
Awesome.
From a dice pool perspective, it also means there's less traits to be fiddling around with. If you give a lot of points to be allocated among skills, of which there are 16 on the sheet as opposed to the 9 attributes, it means it generally takes longer to do character creation. It's a bit more fiddly when you got to do a point buy between 16, 24, or 100 skills given the game, well, whatever the game happens to be. Whereas saying, well, here's your attributes, here's all the points you've got to spread. You've only got 9 attributes. People tend to focus a little easier with that.
Awesome.
So then we get onto trademarks. Trademarks are a fun little feature. If you ever played a game with specialities where characters have skills that they particularly excel at, and you then put a specialty next to it, such as science, and then in brackets, biology, it means your character really specializes in that. Now, trademarks differ slightly because we don't often use a single word to determine what a trademark is. We like to use a phrase. It makes them more malleable, and certainly if you can then sort of speak those phrases during the course of the game as you are using that trademark, it becomes more cinematic. So as an example, you can link mind like a calculator to intellect, or swims like a fish to athletics, may be appropriate in this case, or always an excuse linked to larceny. A few words like that makes for an interesting, more flavorful trademark. So your character can invoke trademarks only once per story. They can be negative, but if you use them, it basically has a positive outcome. And your character has, let's see, 4 trademarks. One should be linked somewhat to your origin, one should be linked somewhat to your ambition, and the other 2 should be linked somewhat to your archetype. It's not a hard and fast rule, it just basically gives you some guidance in creation. So when we talk about a military brat, you could have a trademark linked to, let's say, command, that you could have speaks like a drill instructor. Or you could have a trademark linked to the fact that you are a scientist as an archetype. Link it to even something incongruous like close combat, and it could be, I know exactly where the weak points are because you've studied the anatomy of these creatures, that sort of thing. So feel free to be creative. You don't have to tie them to the skills necessarily that were linked to those paths, but you can if you want. And there's a section on the character sheet to fill in those 4 trademarks. Whenever you use a trademark, you gain 2 additional dice on that roll. So basically, let's say you are going to use swims like a fish linked to athletics. So you might say, I swim like a fish. You dive into the water. Roll athletics plus might. Let's say you get your 2 additional dice. Let's say you're successful. Well, if you are successful and you use a trademark in this game, you get something called directorial control. It basically means you take my job for a moment, because you can describe exactly everything that is going on around you. Remember, this is a movie game, so if you are using your trademark, the thing that you are most well known for, on the screen, then all of a sudden the spotlight is on you. You can describe what the enemy is doing, what supporting characters, what extras are doing, how the weather changes, whatever you see fit. You don't have to make yourself successful. You can make yourself fail. Something that is dramatically appropriate. But that only really comes up if you use your trademark and you succeed. So it's often worth putting trademarks next to skills that you're already fairly decent in. So, do we have any interesting trademarks that you've come up with? I open it to the floor for you to speak up.
So far... Oh, Meredith.
Yeah, go, Lisa. Go.
Okay. All right. So far I have 3. There swims like a seahorse. Definitely a lovable suburban human. And her haunted eyes have seen some stuff.
Oh.
Awesome.
Okay, I like that. And which skills did you link those to?
Obviously, honestly, I hadn't even thought about that. So,
well,
athletics.
Yeah, swims definitely links to athletics.
What makes me lovable?
Larceny, if it's you lying, I guess. Or I guess it could be persuasion or empathy. You're just relatable.
I'm gonna say empathy.
Okay.
Her haunted eyes have seen some stuff. That might be that I want. It's almost like if this were a different game, I would have said history. Would that be?
That would be humanities.
Yeah. I need to think of one more. What are yours, Meredith?
Mine are. I don't have the link yet for this one, but always knows where the exit is.
Ooh. That's a good one. Survival, probably, if you have any dots in survival.
I do. Survival. Speaks like the most important person in the room.
Command.
Yep. And then I'm stealing.
How you, Meredith?
And then always knows where the weak points are I stole from you, which is survival. And I'm thinking of a 4th one.
Let's think. So, as a scientist, you could have something like, let's think, it could be, I know the way these creatures think. It could be something like, I can always summon someone in charge, maybe, or you've got a direct line to J. Edgar Hoover. That's more of a G-Man thing, but you could kind of have that under persuasion to persuade people you're more important than you actually are. I have gear for this in my laboratory, maybe. You could put
I
it
have
under
gear
technology.
for this. Yeah. Well, the other thing I was going to say too, or I have, because I'm in medicine, if I could have like a med kit, essentially, like I have I have a med kit for this.
Yeah, I've got morphine just for this occasion. Every occasion.
Got morphine for this occasion.
My fourth one is, I know how to disarm a crab, and it's close combat.
Yes!
Lysa just living that life of trying to get that crab.
Yeah. And how about you, Adriel?
Okay, so I did mine as phrases. So first I have always happy to meet you, which I've thinking will tie to like culture and command because it's my friendship goal.
Yeah.
I know what that is, tied to science. What was that? What have we got? And that is tied to technology. So like if we have some stuff, maybe I can build it like MacGyver. And sure, I know how to drive it, tied to pilot, which I only have one dot in because that's funny.
But that's fine because you get 2 additional dice when you use that trademark. But you can only use it once.
Yep.
Okay.
All right then. So we're on to the final stages of character creation now. The next one is relationships. We've got a little section on the bottom of the character sheet for relationships. Essentially, once you know that your character names, but for now you can put your player names, you basically assign relationship intensity between your characters. So in a group of this size, for instance, you would have a relationship intensity of, it's usually 3 with one character and 2 with the other. Now, what does this mean? Relationship intensity basically affects your ability to assist them in a certain way. So, for instance, if Lisa's seahorse was listening to the blues from Adriel's high school kid, and let's say the relationship was always a shoulder to cry on, or good listener, let's say, you could say maybe their relationship is really strong. It's a level 3 relationship. So if Lysa is using empathy in some way in conjunction with the high school kid is bemoaning their plight, maybe they've slipped up, twist their ankle, and it's up to Lysa to help. Force empathy in there. Don't go for the usual medicine. Use empathy and say, due to my relationship intensity of 3, I now get 3 additional dice at trying to help the situation due to that relationship. And that relationship then, obviously, there's downhill of relationship intensity of 2, and you can have relationship intensities of 1 where the game group is slightly larger. So we need to ascertain what your relationships are with each other beyond what we've already done. And due to the odd number of players, someone may end up slightly more advantaged than the others. And also that, how these relationships will come into play. You don't have to link them to a specific skill, but it just needs to be something you can invoke during the course of the game. So let's start with Meredith's scientist. What do you think of these 2 characters? What is your relationship with them?
Lysa's my favorite waitress ever. So I think we have like one of those like Lysa's character knows my name type of deal, like, you know, and knows my order and kind of like leaves me alone type of deal. But I'm always, you know, asking Lysa's character, you know, how they're doing and stuff like that. So not like best friends or even friends, but like very happy acquaintances.
Okay, so let's define that a little more tightly so that you could use it in a game context, I guess. You're in a way, without making it too dark, she's kind of your supplier. You know, she always keeps you plied with not just coffee, but also keeps a roof over your head because you need to sit in this diner because no one else will have you. So yeah, your relationship with her is strong, but it seems to have a bit of a dependence. Maybe that would be how you would define it. You have a dependence on Lysa's diner and her hospitality.
Okay.
So does that define... So that's Meredith's relationship to me. Is that...
Yes.
So it's a two-way thing, so I write that down as well?
No. You get to decide your relationship with Meredith and with
I kind of
Adriel.
like that, because I like that for They Came From, because if someone like really, really likes somebody and is enamored with them and be like, no, I don't like this person at all. Like, I don't even know why they're talking to me. That makes for a good story.
Oh yeah. There's certain elements of Monster Hearts and other games like that there where relationship intensity is something I'm a really big fan of in games, where you can mechanize that kind of thing, especially if it's unrequited. So yeah, Meredith, your character may well be dependent on the diner, whereas Lysa's character just thinks, God, this guy's back again. So it's more of a begrudging relationship. What are you thinking your level 2 relationship with the kid is then?
I'm gonna mold this kid and teach this kid about everything I possibly can, because they're a fresh mind and they can carry out my conspiracies when I leave this earth. Type of deal.
Okay, yeah, so teacher or mentor, that works. All right then. So how about you, Adriel? What are you thinking for your character?
So I was thinking 3 with Lysa as well, because she's a regular feature in my life, as like I go to the diner and get egg creams and whatever. And that's really important to me as a person who has moved around a lot. And then with Meredith, it's the 2 points, and it's really about like, oh man, this person knows so much, but my dad is really down on anybody who doesn't fit the 1950s norms. So I have to get over that internalized, phobia.
Yeah, so of the intelligentsia of damn scientists, eggheads in their labs, they know nothing of war, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay then, and how about you, Lysa? What is your character relationship?
I might need some help defining these into something that makes sense for the game, but I feel like my character, who I've named Bubbles, and his Bubbles soda fountain, Bubbles is like, why does this character keep coming to my soda fountain and ordering coffee? I carry coffee only for this person, but they tip well.
Okay, so I would define that as a simple confusing. So if at any point Meredith or her character is confusing yours, you can basically use the intensity of that relationship to gain some additional dice. The key thing with these relationships is you need to call them out when you see them. You note them down, and when they come up and play, don't be afraid of just saying, that's just like our relationship, and at which point, great, use the extra dice. So how about your relationship with the high school brat?
With Adriel's character, I think I eavesdrop really intensely on all their conversations because they're young and hip and cool, and this is how I learned to be human.
Okay, so admiration maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Unless you want to lean more on the eavesdropping, in which case maybe curiosity.
Okay. I like curiosity.
Awesome.
Curiosity.
Okay, just 2 more steps that we need to cover. The things we're missing out on in this particular session, just for anyone watching, there's a couple of fields on the character sheet that we won't be filling in for these purposes. One is aspirations. Aspirations is a player-driven thing. It's something you want to accomplish with your character in the course of the game. And I think I can speak for the group when I say what we want to accomplish is actually being able to somehow tell an interesting story within about an hour.
I
believe.
Yeah. Oh, we'll do it. But having a long-term aspiration may be a little adventurous, so we'll skip those for the time being. Another one we're missing out on is connections. So connections, just to explain, characters basically get a contact connection from among the supporting cast, the world of characters. They get access to something of their choice, like a laboratory or an armory, and they generally have an organization-based contact as well, whether it's the sheriff's office, the high school, or something like that. We're going to focus this just on the characters rather than the larger world, so we won't do connections here, but those can basically be invoked during the course of the game to say, I know someone at, and that basically allows you to then call on the principal, for instance. The other one we're not going to be doing is, and this is actually a part you fill in during the course of the game, is something called favored stunts. So when I get onto the mechanics, which I'll do a very quick rundown of just before we start gameplay, when you score lots of successes on dice rolls, to put it simply, you can unlock something called stunts, which is dynamic ways of performing what you're about to do. And we have a section on the character sheet for favored stunts, because while there are some in the book that are prescribed, they're pre-written, you can also make your own up. And I see it kind of like a wizard making a spell book. If you are making the magic in your mind and just coming up with things spontaneously, you might think, I really like doing that, so I'll write it down as a favored stunt so I can remind myself to do it again in another session. There's a certain element of this game that is dependent on repetition, on characters becoming known for performing in a certain way, because again, it emulates movies, and characters tend to repeat the same beats a few times until they succeed, and we will get on to another element of that with quips. So these are the last two things we need to go through: tropes and quips. So tropes, first of all. Tropes are special, one-of-a-kind powers that the archetypes each have access to. In the core game, you get 3 tropes per character. We're not going to burn through that many in an hour, so I'm going to give everyone 1 trope per character. There's a list of them in the book, but instead, I'm going to basically give you tropes that match the way you've described your characters. So this is me as director of the game being directorial. So we'll start with Meredith. The scientist has a lot of fun tropes with names like weird science, atomic power, physics need not apply. I think you have got something called breakthrough discovery. Basically, you have made a breakthrough. It could be a new medical technique or a new way of punching aquatic aliens, but it's all your hard work. You've got to define in your mind what this breakthrough discovery is, but whenever you use it, you will always gain an enhancement to your dice rolls. We'll go into enhancements very soon. So it's a +1 enhancement. And for our high schooler, as you are more, let's see, I guess aspirational, you're trying to get your foot on the science ladder, I think we'll go for, I just need a small sample, which is in the description here. It's the biological agent can be reverse engineered to provide an antidote, cure, poison, really anything you need it to do. All you really need is a small sample. So if you ever encounter someone who has been exposed to alien gas, it happens, you can hopefully work up a cure for them as long as you have some of that gas yourself. And then we have the survivor. And the tropes we're going for here, based on how you've described your seahorse, seen too much. You've been through a lot and seen more than most people do in a lifetime. Few things shock or strain your disbelief anymore. You get to roll 1 extra die to resist mental or social influences. Nice, simple one. But make a note of that. Okay, so we are nearly there. And nearly at the hour mark as well. Not bad. Creating 3 characters in 1 hour. So the next stage is a fun mechanic called quips. Now, you can actually get quip cards off DriveThruRPG. There's a bit of advertising on DriveThruRPG's channel. And when we're not all in lockdown and we're all playing together in person again, quips are really fun to play as a sort of kinesthetic tool. You know, you slam them on the table and say, this is what I'm saying. Quips and They Came From Beneath the Sea are a one-liner mechanism or a punchline mechanism. But as I mentioned earlier, they are a repetitive punchline. Every single time you utter a quip, you will gain bonus dice to your action. And hopefully, your action will be successful. If it is, great, you get to keep that quip, and you can then use it again. Now, here's the rub. Your use of the quip has to be deemed entertaining by the rest of the group. It doesn't have to be appropriate. It doesn't at all have to be appropriate. In fact, often they're entertaining when they're inappropriately used. The one that's sort of used in most demos is, smells like mama's apple pie. Now, that's a very sort of 1950s American thing to say. And you could say it walking into the diner at the very beginning of the game. Congratulations, people find it entertaining. You get 1 extra die on your next roll. Or you could blow the head off of a crab man and say, smells like mama's apple pie. It's not appropriate in the slightest, but it's a good use of the quip. Now, if you use a quip more than once, the next time you use it, if that's successful as well, you get 2 extra dice. If you use it a third time and it's successful, 3 extra dice. And so it goes on and on until you get to 5 extra dice where it maxes out. If your use of a quip is deemed not entertaining, you are a dullard. You are, in theory, supposed to lose access to the quip, but we'll be a little friendlier than that. So every character starts with 3 different quips. And as I have the deck in front of me, what I will do is I will randomly draw some quips for your characters, because it would be too easy if you had quips you could make up, and you can make them up. So yeah, you know what? I'll give you 1 quip you can make up of your own. Try and make it sound like something someone might say in a B movie, and I will draw cards for the others. So let's see. So Meredith, your character's 2 quips that you're not choosing are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think everything I ever feared is correct.
Feared is correct. Okay.
And if you need me, I'll be in a dry, monster-free place. Now, you can... this is what the... Oh, I don't know how well it'll show up. This is what the cards look like. So you can, as I said, use that in a... let's say you've just finished a fight with some aliens. It makes perfect sense to say that. Let's say you are getting out of bed in the morning and leaving your wife sleeping there, and you say, if you need me, I'm in a dry, monster-free place. You can still use it. Okay, so Adriel,
Yes.
we will have yours. Okay, don't look now, but we've got dinner guests. And sorry to throw a hairnet on your evil plans.
Great.
And Lysa. I've smoked worse things in my pipe.
Awesome.
And something tells me those aren't antennae.
Oh my gosh.
And did you come up with one, Meredith, of your own?
Not
If not,
yet.
I'll draw one for you then.
Yeah, you know what? Draw it. Like let's
Okay.
get wild.
I don't know whether to fight it or have it for lunch.
Okay.
And Adriel, did you come up with one of your own, or do you want me to draw one?
Please draw one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Time to cut some apron strings.
I want a third one drawn too.
Oh,
Okay.
Lysa.
I've never been happier to be free of something's slimy grip. Okay. So as I mentioned, you use a quip, and because we're not playing with physical cards in this game, if you want to make a quip, I don't expect everyone to remember each other's quips. So just say quip and then say it. It's a little more forced, but this game plays on the fact that none of us are going to be Oscar-winning actors, and no one in the 1950s B-movie genre was really a Oscar-winning actor either. I mean, I'm sure that maybe there were some, but I doubt it. So we are very nearly there. Very, very nearly. So I'm going to now go through the basic rules of the game before we start our mini scenario. So I mentioned earlier that the game system is based around D10s, a D10 dice pool where 8s and aboves are successes, 10s give 2 successes, and should you succeed on your roll, let's say the difficulty is 1 and you get 3 successes, you can basically give your roll enhancements by the difference of what you've succeeded. So if you get 3 successes and the difficulty is 1, congratulations, you've got a +2 enhancement. What does an enhancement mean? Well, it's often something as simple as you do 2 additional damage to the creature if you're punching it. But if it's an investigation, it might be you find an additional 2 clues, or you don't just find the footprints, but you also find a body hanging from a tree. I don't know. There's all kinds of things you might be getting as enhancements. Conversely, sometimes the difficulty of something is sort of encumbered with complications. Now, complications do not have to be overcome to succeed. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're running down an alleyway. This is a very popular example. You're running down an alleyway and a were-lobster is chasing you. It happens. And there's a chain link fence at the end of the alley, because there's always a chain link fence, and it's got barbed wire across the top of it, because of course there's barbed wire. And you want to get away from the were-lobster, so you climb up the chain link fence and climb over. Now, you're a good climber normally, so you roll your athletics and your might, let's say, to climb over, and it's usually only a difficulty 1 to climb over. However, the complication is there's a lobster behind you, a big one, and there's also barbed wire on the top. So let's say that's a level 2 complication. One is you keep looking over your shoulder because there's a lobster out there, and the other one is there's barbed wire, which you can climb over, but it might snag on your clothing. So we'll say you roll 1 success. So excellent. You beat the difficulty, but the complication is still intact. It basically means you succeed at cost, if you like, because the complication could be, as you tumble over, because you keep looking back, you make eye contact with the lobster. Now the lobster knows your face and won't forget it, because lobsters have excellent memories, as we know. The other complication is the barbed wire. It tears your pocket open, your wallet falls out on the wrong side of the fence, the lobster picks it up with its pincers. You succeeded, but now the lobster not only knows your face, it also knows where you live, the car you drive. Oh, it's a disaster. But at least you succeeded. So that's what a complication is. Now, if you basically roll more successes than the difficulty and there are complications, you can buy off those complications. So that's how the dice system works. It's all pretty easy. Some people, when they run this game, just kind of bake enhancements and complications into difficulty, but it's a little more fun to play around with them as in a similar way, I guess, to various things like aspects in Fate and things like that. So in most games, you just want to succeed. In this game, you sometimes want to fail, because every single time you fail, you gain a consolation. You will always get something out of failure. There will always be something. You will never just fall flat on your face and nothing will happen. If you fail, you gain a rewrite. Now, the folks on this call will know in the chat, over on the right-hand side of our screen, we have 3 rewrites right now. That's the number of players in the game. Rewrites do what is obvious from the name, I guess, in the sense that you can use them for things like re-rolls. You can use them to replay what you just did, but that's not an exciting use of rewrites. What you can also use rewrites for, and this is why you want to fail, is you can purchase special meta powers called cinematics. This is the last mechanical thing we'll go into before we start the game. They Came From Beneath the Sea is a game that embraces the idea of metagaming. And metagaming is not a dirty word, because you are, in a sense, all actors playing characters and at the same time producers, and you can kind of manipulate the environment and the B-movie aesthetic of this game. Cinematics are your ability to do that. And in order to purchase cinematics, you need rewrites. So you need to fail to use cinematics. And they're usually pretty powerful things. So we start the game with 3 rewrites, and I've given a selection of cinematics to the group, which I will go through now. The first one is Cheap Set. Cheap Set is a very easy one. It only costs 1 rewrite to use it. As the name implies, it basically means if you are cornered by said were-lobster, you could elbow your way through the brick wall and run away. If someone comes at you with a harpoon, you could break it in your hand because it's a rubbish prop. It's basically a way of manipulating the environment. Kill the Extra is probably my favorite of the cinematics in this game, where it helps if there is already an extra that you have named in this game, but if not, that's fine. Let's say a gill folk points their laser gun at you, goes pachoo, a green laser goes jagged across the screen towards you. It would vaporize you, but you use your 1 rewrite, because that's all it costs, to kill the Extra instead. Little Bobby Joe on her bicycle is cycling by at just that moment, because you've just used Kill the Extra, and the jaggedy laser line goes into Bobby Joe. The only condition to using Kill the Extra is you must hold the body of the dying Extra and say no, or otherwise pledge vengeance or justice. So in Bobby Joe's case, in this case, you'll be holding rapidly dissolving dust. Then we've got more expensive cinematics. These ones cost 3 rewrites each. One is Deleted Scene. Deleted Scene allows you, being a forgetful player, to go back in time and say, I had this rocket launcher all along. To give it a little more clout, let's say you're on a fishing boat, Centipus, the 100-tentacled octopus that graces the cover of They Came From Beneath the Sea, is rearing out of the water, about to devour you, and you've got no way of defending yourself because all you sailed out on was a wooden rowing boat with a harpoon gun. You've got no chance. Well, now, with Deleted Scene, you can actually say, 5 minutes earlier, I was on the docks and I had just equipped myself with my atomic-powered harpoon gun, or something equally as nonsensical. Because you've used the Deleted Scene, you can do that, and now you're back on the boat, and then you pull off the tarpaulin, and there is your atomic harpoon gun. Now, the other 3 rewrite cost cinematic we're using in this game is Scene Missing. Scene Missing is the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card in this game, because it invokes the old favorite of a missing reel from an old movie. We go back to Centipus rearing up, about to crash into the boat and devour all of you. There's no chance. You've already used your Deleted Scene earlier in the game. You go, Scene Missing. Everything cuts to black. A few seconds later, you're somewhere else. Somewhere else, and you cannot refer to how you got away from the monster, how you got out of that situation, not in any direct way. You could make obscure references like I've never seen anyone do that with a watermelon before, but you can't actually explain how you got away from Centipus. It's just a way of basically cutting to black and suddenly you're safe. You can use it for other reasons, of course. If you're confronted by an angry person, you can say, I don't want this confrontation, scene missing. And usually it's up to the player that uses scene missing to narrate where you are now. I recommend it being somewhere a bit silly, but somewhat connected to the plot. So, that is it. It took 1 hour and 10 minutes to go through character creation and the system breakdown. And the next thing I need to ask, the last thing I need to ask for my notes, is your character names. So, let's start with Lysa.
Yeah. My character is named Bubbles, and she uses the pronouns she, her.
Thank you very much. And Adriel.
My character's name is Michael, and he uses the pronouns he, him.
Thank you very much. And Meredith.
I am James Spellman, and he uses the pronouns he, him.
Is James, does James prefer to be referred to as a doctor or professor, or is he not that kind of scientist?
Oh, not that kind of scientist.
No, he's very casual about the entire degree thing. All right, then. So we're going to start in... Let's ask Lysa, in fact, to set the scene, because Lysa, you run the diner. And I think it would make sense, given that we've already established there's a place of great importance to our characters, that the story starts there.
Yes.
So describe our diner and what we see.
All right. So the soda shop, Bubbles Soda Shop, is extremely colorful. The floor is all sorts of different painted smears of shades of blue. The walls are wallpapered with like different patterns also in those same shades. And all of the like the swivel chairs, stools that people sit on are shaped like the bottom half of a mermaid. So when you sit on them, you kind of look like you're a mermaid. And Bubbles is behind the counter. She has like purple and teal and all sorts of color hair. Although I don't know if you can tell because maybe everything's in black and white. I don't know. But you can tell there's different shades, and there's like a starfish tucked into her. A dried starfish tucked into her hair.
Oh, very nice. It's very much a themed diner before those things were popular.
Yeah. And there's a jukebox, but it only plays whale sounds. So there's there's lovely whale ambiance going on quietly in the background.
Yeah, I can't think why you only have 2 regular customers. I'm guessing Patty's Diner down the road, which plays things like Jerry Lee Lewis and the like, is probably a little more popular, but that's fine. You know, you've got your aesthetic, you're proud of it, and you'll fight for it.
Maybe Michael knows why.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Michael, you have just entered the diner after another long day at school. You don't necessarily go home every day because, well, Dad's a bit of a bully, and Ma will never understand. So, yeah, tell us about yourself and what you're doing now that you're at the diner.
So, Michael is a sort of regular-looking high school kid, maybe about, 6 feet tall, button-up shirt, glasses, obviously, and he is very excited to be here at Bubbles because he feels really at home here and was looking forward all day to sitting down with an egg cream and doing his homework.
And how does Bubbles feel about that, this kid rolling up almost every day with homework in tow?
I think it's great. The homework takes up the whole booth. You can really spread out your textbooks, and it kind of makes the place feel more full.
Yeah, that's a positive attitude. And okay, but then there's the constant corner booth dweller. If this was a game of Shadowrun, he would be a Mr. Johnson, but as it is not, he is just a slightly unpopular scientist. who has been sat there all day. Tell us about James Spellman, then, Meredith.
Sure.
What's he been looking into today? What's he been feverishly writing about?
He has essentially the booth looks very similar to Michael's, except it's a lot like it's very messy. Like there's just papers everywhere. There's folders, like some of them are like into the actual like booth seat. And he's constantly looking for that piece. He's got really messy hair and he's clean kept, but he has a this worn green coat that he always wears. He wears it all season, every season, that he always has on. And he's looking over some papers that he found outside the hospital dumpster. And he's looking into like what he can find out like that's happened this week, if there's anything weird that's been going on.
Okay, well, let's go for a dice roll. Why not?
Ooh, okay.
As you are looking into the papers, you're doing the scanning every single line, every single small column, trying to find something of note, something that stands out as strange or esoteric. Let's go for enigmas and intellect.
Okay, so that's... I didn't take an enigmas. All right.
Unfortunately, this is a problem for James Spellman. He would love to be the great mystery solver of the southeast coast, where you're all stationed, and yet he's rubbish at it. he's never been able to find a single mystery he could solve.
Awesome. That's a 6, 10, and a 2. So that's what, 2 successes then?
It is still 2 successes.
Okay.
You do find something that piques your interest. There was a report from yesterday of Big Jim's fishing trawler not returning home. It's a small paper that you're reading right now. It's very local. Big Jim, everyone knows Big Jim. Oh yeah, you know Big Jim. You don't get on with him, but you know him. He's a popular face down at the docks. Who doesn't know Big Jim? But the problem is Big Jim hasn't been seen, and it's enough of a revelation that the local paper, which for whatever reason publishes daily here, has decided to publish a small column to say, Big Jim missing? And it's unlike Big Jim, it reads, to be out all night because his wife is a known tyrant. The newspaper journalists here are really not great. But that they very much favoured Big Jim. They work down at the docks as well. Either way, they say that his trawler went missing. It just ceased all radio contact. There is the concern that it went down, but when the lifeguard were sent out to search for it, there was not a trace to be seen in his usual fishing spots. His wife, interviewed at the bottom of the column, says... it wouldn't be the first time he hasn't come home. It's just the first time he hasn't come home while being on board ship with his crewmates. I'm really not that worried, and he has a good army pension.
Okay.
But still, it's not the first time you've read about boats going down off the coast. The last one was a few weeks ago. This was a tourist yacht that was bobbing around out there. No one really gave much of a damn because they were outsiders. But still, two is a trend. 3 just means something odd.
I am going to walk by James's booth, and I refill your cup of coffee. The one not themed thing in this soda shop is the little tiny coffee maker that I have just for James. And I'm like, Human Spellman, anything interesting today? I don't know how you drink this stuff. You sure I can't interest you in a chocolate malt?
Positive. I need coffee. I need it, especially for this. I mean, have you seen this? And he shoves like the paper forward towards Bubbles.
I will look at the paper, and I definitely know how to read human words. And I will deflect by no, I can't even figure out how to make a quip sort of work in here. Oh, yes. Wow. Wow, yes, totally. What do you think of this?
Oh my gosh. I mean, like Big Jim, like that, everyone knows Big Jim.
Oh, I definitely know. Big human gem.
Yeah. I mean, I've always tried to invite him to come over here because this place is so great. You run such a great shop. And, well, yeah. And now I don't know what's happened to him.
He is a mainstay of the town. Big Jim Tug.
Well, did he seem receptive to that? I mean, I'm worried if he's missing either way, but if he's a potential customer, maybe we should find him.
Yeah.
I really need a third customer.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I mean, like, we have the room, and I don't know what Jim drinks, but we'll figure it out. And it's really exciting.
Well,
so,
as you're both formulating your search and rescue party, quite impromptu as it is, the ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling of the bell above the door goes off, and that's startling enough, given that there's already two customers.
What was that? Oh, the bell, right.
And Michael, you can see out the window, there's a line of about 5 people shuffling along. They're looking in the window at you. They're dressed in fisherman's overalls. They look a bit briny, like old salts, and they're looking in as they're moving past the window a bit jaggedly. And the one at the front of the line steps in. Michael, could you do let's go for humanities, and yes. I think we'll go for humanities and cunning.
Okay, and I have where is cunning? There is cunning. Okay, so I only have 1 dot between the two.
Impressive.
However, I would like to say, quip, Bubbles, it looks like we've got diner guests. Diner.
Yep.
So I just rolled the 110.
It's a pun. I think it's like extra entertaining.
Yes.
Yeah.
10 points.
Yes, go for it. You get an additional die because you used your quip.
I'm
always encouraging people to use quips. Doesn't matter if you're using them well.
I rolled 1 8 and 1 2.
Okay, that's a success.
So, yeah.
Okay, so you recognize one of them, although he looks distinctly worse for wear. One of your father's drinking buddies and a fisherman, man by the name of Ben Peterson. You've occasionally seen him around the house. He's been trying to talk your dad into going out fishing with them, but yeah, your dad has no sea legs, is what he says. Just have another beer. But you see Ben Peterson, and Ben Peterson looks at you with no recognition whatsoever as he shuffles past the window.
Hi, Ben. Ben? I'm gonna wave out the window.
He does file in with the rest. Eventually, there's 5 more diners, apparently, but they kind of stand around looking a little curiously at the set design, which again isn't unusual for customers who stumble into Bubbles diner. And their leader twitches his head toward Bubbles. The fattiest thing you've got.
Oh, well, that would be our strawberry shortcake float, I think. Good choice. And I kind of like hold up the coffee and make like a little face and put it back in the coffee maker. And I'm going to go and start making some milkshakes.
The 5 of them, almost as if it's a dance move in perfect unison and take stools at the bar at the same time.
I'm going to look at Michael to see how Michael's reacting to this.
This is weird. Like, first of all, Ben should recognize me. I mean, he has seen me in the house, so I am definitely suspicious of something, but I don't know what yet.
Yeah, Ben doesn't look over his shoulder to look back at you. They all have a bit of a smell to them as well. They just smell briny. They smell like they've taken a dip and haven't had a wash since, which again isn't unusual for fishermen in this part of town, but still, they could have had a shower.
5 strawberry shortcake floats coming right up. And I push them each across the counter. I'm like, what brings you into the shop today?
They each pick up their strawberry shortcake floats, examine them, and their method of drinking is, to put it mildly, uncouth, as they kind of jam the glass up against their face and lose a lot of the milkshake down their chins and chests. Some of it ends up where it's supposed to, but it's like they're chewing it as it's going in. And then they all wipe the milkshake off their chins with their sleeves, those of them that remember, and put it down. And their leader says, "Another."
Oh,
Please.
wow. Oh, but it's my lucky day, of course. And I go and I'm making the milkshakes again. But after I serve them, I'm gonna like quietly go over to Michael's homework booth. Gee, Michael, this sure seems strange. I mean, I don't know anything about creatures who have just climbed out of the ocean and are posing as humans, but if I were to hazard a guess, they sure are drinking strange, don't you think?
Yeah, they are. And now that you mention it, that is not human behavior. I am an expert in human behavior. Let's ask James if he has any thoughts, because this is weird. And also, I know that guy, but he's acting like he doesn't know me.
Oh,
I'm just going to say, for the sake of the audience, thank you very much, Scott Locke, for asking a question. There absolutely is room for using variations on quips. Ultimately, the purpose is to be entertaining in the course of the game, so if you can do it, then go for it. There's certainly no restriction, but do continue.
James is already there. Like the second that they were talking about like creatures from the sea and stuff, James is like just hovering over.
Hello.
You talking about creatures from the sea?
No, there's no creatures from the sea here. Oh, you mean them? Of course. I mean, it's strange, isn't it? How they're drinking the strawberry shortcake floats. I mean, I've never actually served one to someone, so I don't know if maybe that is the usual, but they've gotten more of it down the front of their clothes.
This isn't normal.
Not normal.
Also, they smell really fishy. I mean, like, extra fishy.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I've smoked worse things in my pipe. Quip.
Yes, A+.
Oh yeah. Keep in mind, so you don't have to make a dice roll now, but when you do make your next one, you will get an additional die.
Made a note.
Give Lysa
Ben,
whatever.
Yeah, Ben Peterson turns and says, "Excuse me."
Yes.
The strawberry shortcake floats belong in the hands of the workers.
You and I are on the same page. I would love to see more working folks and fishermen in here drinking these nutritious soda floats.
Then serve us.
Oh. Yes, and I will go and make floats again, but I turn and give a sort of like, what's going on? Like theater whisper to the booth.
This is not like Ben at all. He would never say something like that. He doesn't believe that workers should have strawberry shortcake milkshakes.
I'm going to serve these floats, but I'm going to put like gosh, like I'll drop my tip from the last thing in just in Ben's float, and it's just kind of like on top, just to see if he reacts or anything.
So the tip of, sorry.
Oh, I'm throwing like some coins and maybe like a dollar bill,
Oh, I
just
see,
like
yes.
on top of his strawberry float to see if he thinks that's weird.
That will be from your tip jar. They have so far not paid at all. Yeah, you're wondering as well whether they're even going to. But no, there is no recognition as Ben throws the milkshake back and then starts choking on the quarter that he just swallowed.
Oh, my! Oh, no! Can I Heimlich him? Because I didn't mean to murder.
I was going to say, yeah. You didn't mean to murder.
The others, you can certainly launch yourself to behind him, get your arms around him. The other fishermen have jumped from their stools. Assassin, murder, poison!
What? Oh, no. I mean, what? Oh, gosh! Heimlich!
I think we'll go for, you can choose here. You can either do medicine and might. You could arguably use close combat or athletics and might instead, so up to you.
I'm going to say I don't actually know how to do the Heimlich maneuver, except from what I've seen on like the diagram that I had to have in my shop, maybe at this time. I don't know. So it's just athletics. It's just squishing them.
Okay, athletics and might then, please. Remember to add your additional die.
Okay. Oh, yes. I get to roll 10 dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 successes.
Nice.
Wow,
oh
okay. 7 successes, beating the odds very much there. And you buy off any potential complications, such as losing your tip money and in fact, not winning back their trust. That's all gone. Because with the sort of strength only a seahorse could muster, it's surprising.
Weird
that the seahorse has arms.
Weird.
Yeah.
So specific.
But if a seahorse were to perform the Heimlich maneuver, it would be like this. And you pull back against Ben's chest, and out flies the quarter. The other fishermen stop with their protests, nod, say, thank you, and they bow to you, and one of them reaches forward to shake you by the hand. Thank you. You are a friend.
I will reach out and shake his hand. Question: is his hand slimy?
It's not slimy. In fact, it's a little like someone has put a rubber glove on a very much misshapen and rigid hand, because there's a finger there's fingers splaying out all like this, and when you grab it kind of goes and lets out some air. He doesn't give any recognition to this. You are a friend then, yes? And this coin was a means of testing us?
You know what? Yes, you caught me. Definitely a test, but we're all friends here. Is there,
How like someone like you to test someone like us with the very fundaments of capitalism in this way, trying to force us to swallow a coin with a president's face on it. You will not catch us out that way.
I'm like looking over their shoulders at Michael and James, like they seem confused, and then I change my face so that I'm also like, what? Also confused. This isn't normal.
Are these two like you as well?
I don't know whatever you could possibly mean. I'm just going to say this so that, but I'm not using it. I'm definitely a lovable suburban human.
Yes, and we are definitely lovable working class humans.
Okay. And I kind of lean in so we can speak quietly, but if we weren't lovable humans, would we be something else? Wink, wink.
She gave the wink, wink, he says to her. And he gives the wink, wink back and says, we would be crabs, would we not? Are we mistaken? It was a joke, a human joke.
Bubbles, Michael and James just saw us get really quiet, and then Bubbles like straightens up and crosses her arms, and you just hear her say really loudly, we don't serve your kind here.
Whoa. Do you think they've seen Big Jim?
Should ask.
They seem a bit shell-shocked.
Oh, gosh. James will go, hey, excuse me.
What is the meaning of this, science man?
It's James, but science man's cool. Have you seen Big Jim? He's big, and his name's Jim.
Oh,
you know,
Jim
Jim Big.
Patterson's skin. Close the door. Ben Patterson walks over to the front door, closes it, turns the sign that says shut. This will do. Now we are alone. And the one whose hand you shook, the leader, the skin flops off to reveal a crab pincer and says, Big Jim resisted. Clip, clip.
This is not good.
Big Jim wouldn't fit one of us. Clip, clip. Because ironically, he was neither big nor
Jim.
What did you do with him?
He is, for now, safe. We have come here, however, to seize the scientific apparatus and return it to our own people at the bottom of the sea. And you will help us, or we will be wearing your skin too.
I am going to go stand protectively in front of Michael, and say, you crabs ran me out of the ocean. Just a normal time when I was there on the beach, like the way humans are in the ocean. And there's no way I'm helping you.
Well, you probably did something to upset us.
I don't know. Maybe I would never.
It was no wonder that we drove you out from the seabed. Not crab, not human. Given that the first thing you do when you establish yourself on land is set up private enterprise and take coin for trivial drinks such as these. And what nonsense receptacles where they do not even fit in my mouth, and so I lose most of my drink down my chest.
I don't list. They're talking nonsense the way they look. It's a monster. We shouldn't listen to anything it's saying.
These acronyms are very good. Please do not criticize Bubbles' establishment.
She's doing her best.
Bubbles, you seem to know these people. What should we do?
You're the expert.
Well, I know how to disarm a crab. And I want to, I don't know, like, do like a thing where I grab Ben and kind of like flip him onto the ground.
Okay. So you're going to grab him using the old seahorse martial arts style of CZ Horsey.
Yeah, CZ Horsey.
And that is going to be a close combat, and I think as it's relying mostly on speed, we'll go for close combat and dexterity.
All right. Uh-oh. Oh, well, no, there's still, 2 successes.
2 successes, okay. And I'm going to roll in turn. Because he is watching you, after all. But you still somehow managed to catch him by surprise. This is where you have actually got more successes. I'm going to give you an enhancement here.
Okay.
You realize that these crab people, their vision and movement is restricted to sideways motion. Standing directly in front of them or behind them may give you an advantage. And in this case, you do get that advantage. And in a judo-like flip, the crab Ben is slammed to the ground. One of the fishermen lets out a trilling noise, and the other one wrenches your milk pump off the bar to use it as a weapon.
No!
It starts oozing milk out the end, and he approaches you, Bubbles, threateningly with it, squirting milk.
Oh, gosh.
The insurance probably won't cover this.
Oh, no, even worse.
No!
And as the leader approaches you with the milk pump, another one says and points between James and Michael and says, "You, man boy, you go to a school, yes? Not a school of fish, but a school for humans. Yes? Speak now before your friend here gets the milk pump."
Yes, I do. Crap.
You have laboratories, do you not?
Yes.
And you, science man.
Just James.
Science man James, do you have a laboratory?
In my basement.
Then you will take us to one of these locations so that we may seize the means of science and take it back to the seabed.
No, don't.
We fully intended to ingratiate ourselves with the military base here, but we fell a cropper in the diner. We'll try harder next time. For now, we will seize the chemistry equipment from a high school or a basement laboratory, and we will call it a victory.
Okay, can we have Big Jim first?
Good idea.
Take 3 of us to the laboratory, and 2 of us will take one of your companions to Big Jim.
Can't split the party.
Damn it, they're right. We work better as a group. We are as one. They have more in common with us than we thought. Thinking and moving as one.
I just don't want to.
Don't give them the high school chemistry. They'll be too powerful. Not that I know them. I'm just guessing.
It's a good guess. Good hypothesis.
We will show you to where Big Jim is, but if you try anything, it will be pincer time.
Bubbles, can I get something out of the kitchen?
Stage whisper. Yes, anything you need, Human Michael.
I would like to go into the kitchen and acquire some things. Do I need to tell you what they are?
Yes. In fact, what I would suggest is now would be a good opportunity to use your deleted scene to justify you already having them.
Ooh.
Perfect. I want to do that.
Yeah.
Mainly, I say this because the crab people may object to you just walking out of sight. So what are you taking from the kitchen?
I am taking a ladle, a knife, a pack of hair nets, and just snag some candy while I'm in there.
Yeah.
I am a teenage boy after all.
Growing teenage boy.
Yeah. In the deleted scene that will ultimately appear on the Criterion Collection DVD of crabs! ! We will see the scene where Michael did indeed, during the the hand splitting and the claw presenting, that's when he took the opportunity to get into the kitchen and grab these accoutrements for cooking and snacking. So now you have all of that tucked into your belt or under your jacket.
Cool.
Okay, so that's your 3 rewrites spent. You're going to have to start choosing to lose dice rolls if you want more of them. Or just roll badly. Okay, so where are you taking? So they have agreed that they will take you to the caves where Big Jim is currently sequestered. We have taken advantage of one of your vehicles. They gesture outside. There is a trailer with a small truck on front. We have already been studying the ability to drive.
Too powerful.
I know how to drive that. Can I use a trademark to ask to drive?
Yeah, definitely. That's tied to your pilot, is it not?
Yep.
So, while we can drive, we cannot drive well with these hands, you see. Pincers were not built for operating stick shifts. Therefore, yes, you may drive us, but follow our directions to the letter, else you shall find yourself host to 1,000 crabs. That sounded intimidating, did it not, Brother Crab? It did, Comrade Crab.
Yes, sir, Crab, sir.
Please do not address us as if we are part of a hierarchy. We are an autonomous collective.
I am going to close up my shop, and I'm like, well, you're not taking Michael with you, Crabs. I am going to come watch over him.
You can see the sheriff not far up the road. He looks like he's fairly deep in his cups. He's emerging from the much more popular Patty's Diner, and he's staggering to his car. It's within sight. Now you might be able to signal for help, but you don't have to. It could be putting Big Jim's life at risk. What are you going to do?
I don't know if I understand what a sheriff is, so...
That's very true. It's the man with the funny hat. But for James and Michael, it's a little clearer. So it's up to you. You can choose not to.
What do you think we should do?
What's
your gut say, Michael?
I think we should try and save Big Jim and do it ourselves, because I don't know if the sheriff's gonna know how to deal with all this.
You're smart boy. You're gonna grow up and be the best scientist ever. And turn and go ahead and let's go save him.
How inspirational. I imagine a swell of music at that point.
Yeah.
Michael slapping his thigh and saying, yeah! And hopping into the truck. Okay, so you used your trademark, so feel free to use 2 additional dice.
Yeah.
If you are successful, so you're going to need to get 3 successes here, and if you do, you'll get directorial control. So let's say that with your pilot roll, to get to the location following the crab's rather, let's call them erratic directions, is going to probably require dexterity and pilot.
So
because they tell you to turn at the last possible moment. Again, it comes with the fact that they've literally only got peripheral vision.
Cool. I am rolling 6 dice.
Ooh, okay.
I put
3
a lot
successes
into...
is within sight.
Yeah, I put a lot into dexterity. I got 2 successes. I got a 9 and an 8, and then 2 7s, a 6, and a 1.
Well, it's successful enough. You manage it. No directorial control for you tonight, but that's fine. You do take the crabs back to Crab Cave Cove, the incredibly alliterative feature. Yes. Yeah, you should have known, shouldn't you? It was obvious. It was there right in front of you all along. About Crab Cave Cove is up ahead, and you take the road that takes you down to sea level, and they tell you to stop the truck here.
Okay.
We must pass through the water to get to the cave. You do not think we would be so foolish as to leave Big Jim within land sight.
Crabs are so cunning.
Yes.
Take us to Big Jim, crabs.
Can you swim?
Yes.
Can I?
Just waiting.
Finally, Lysa gets to have a moment.
I kind of step into the water. And do seahorses, do I transform into a seahorse in water, or?
If that's what you want to do, then you go right ahead.
I want my bottom half to transform into a giant seahorse, and I'm just going to say, something tells me those aren't antennae. Quip.
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
The crab's eyes do pop out and antennae emerge. So while your quip was entertaining, it was in fact incorrect. Those are antennae, at least on the crabs. And they say, she was a seahorse all along. We thought you were urchin folk.
Yes, well, you're not driving me out of the ocean this time. This time, I'm going into it, I'm getting Big Jim, and then I'm coming out of my own accord.
You seek to betray us?
No.
Oh, well, in that case, let us swim.
Okay.
You may need to assist your science man in the swimming, for he looks puny, like he could not support himself. I cannot speak for the man boy, though he could ride on our backs. If he trusts a crab.
I don't know whether to fight it or eat it for dinner, to be honest.
That could be a quip.
That is.
It could. Okay. Let's, from Lysa, get an athletics and might roll, please.
Okay, rolling 10 dice.
10 dice. Good grief.
2. And 10s count as 2?
Yes.
Then I get 4 successes.
Yeah.
Four successes. I'd say you'd be able to swim holding both James and Michael.
No. We don't trust crabs here. They wear people as skin.
They do, yeah. That is the vaguely horrific part of this entire scenario. And they certainly don't swim. They scuttle along the seabed, so it's slow going. You think you might be able to get to the cave before the crabs, given that you can swim like a fish, because you are one. But are you going to speed on ahead? Are you going to betray the crabs, or are you going to keep your word?
I am going to betray some crabs.
Yeah.
I swim like a seahorse, which is a trademark, but I already rolled.
Yeah, you get to whatever I called the caves, Crab Cave Cove, and Crab Cake Cave Cove, and there you are. And sure enough, Big Jim, a very distressed-looking Big Jim, is sat there huddled in the cave. The water level is getting higher and higher. It looks like he probably couldn't have lasted here for much longer, and despite the fact he's only been missing for a day, he looks like Robinson Crusoe. He's got a long beard, his eyes are sunken, he looks emaciated. Again, it was ironic that he was called Big Jim. This is how he usually looks. But either way, he reaches at you distressed and says, "Do my eyes deceive me? Be that Bubbles of yon diner."
Big Jim, you're okay.
But what of your legs? Have they defiled you with a fish form? Is this what fate awaits, Big Jim?
Yes. The crabs did this, and this is what I'm like now, but the crabs did it. So we need to get you out of here.
But how? Ye already support these two. You could not support me on your back as well, for I am big.
Oh, Jim. You're very big. But now definitely not before. This is new. I'm figuring this out, but apparently I swim like a seahorse. I bet I could support you. Trademark.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, this is your chance. You need to succeed now, because if not, the crab folk are going to start pouring up onto the shore and looking very unhappy at their deal going wrong.
Okay, let me grab... Okay. So, I get 2 more dice.
Yeah, yes, and what I would suggest also is if James or Michael can lean on their relationship with Bubbles at this point, you can, I'm going to say, use that relationship intensity to give Bubbles even more dice.
Yes.
So let's see. Let's see. What is your relationship, James, with Bubbles?
Our relationship is I'm dependent.
Yeah, well, you are.
Bubbles.
You need to stay on her back to swim back.
So, like, she's going to save the day.
Okay, so that's 3 extra dice for Bubbles. And what about Adriel? What's your relationship?
I trust Bubbles, and I there's a lot of weird stuff happening today, but I trust Bubbles, so...
You can see past the seahorse tail.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, we got a 10 in there. We got so many successes.
Yeah, there's another 3 dice on this, so...
Yeah, I've been rolling as we go, because I only have so many dice. But that got us a total of 5 successes with some 10s from those extra dice y'all gave me.
Very nice. It means that you, while you're able to swim back and support the 3 of them, even the reaching claws of the crabs, those complications that were trying to snare you from the depths and possibly grab you by the tail and pull you down, leaving the humans just to wonder what happened to Bubbles. It never happens. They snap and they clip and they try and grab you and they try and grab your companions. But no, you swim like a seahorse, unsurprisingly, and make your way back to the beach. For now, our story is over. For you have saved Big Jim, but now you know just off the shore of your little town, crab people wait, lurking, to get their hands, their pincers on science. And they know who you are. They know your diner. And they've already wrecked your milkshake machine. What could come next? Never mind the fishermen that they have skinned.
Just gloss over that part.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so fun.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. A nice 1-hour session. Very, very sleek. We got to use a cinematic. We got to use some quips. Got to use a few of the mechanics, and got to see some of the nonsense that exists in this game. As I mentioned at the start, They Came From Beneath the Sea can be played straight. I ran a campaign of it for the Red Moon role-playing folks, which was played very Lovecraftian in nature, or I guess Cthulhian, if that's a word, in where everything was a lot more sort of deep south, creepy, and very sort of deep one nature to it, and all of the characters happened to basically be that whenever they used cinematics, it was the great old ones using cinematics. So the characters were avatars of Nyarlathotep and Hastur and things like that. So you can play it horrific quite easily with the book, but you can also play it like a camp nonsense B-movie, which is how we did it. And whatever way you do it, it tends to be a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much, Matthew, for coming on. We really appreciate it, and maybe in the future we can get a part 2 and see what happens with the crab people.
Maybe.
Thank you. Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. Well, we've got They Came From Beyond the Grave.
Yeah.
Yes, I was going to ask about that. They Came From Beneath the Sea. What we did today, you do have something coming up called They Came From Beyond the Grave.
Yep. So They Came From Beyond the Grave is Hammer Horror, 1960s, 1970s, Technicolor, bright red blood, a little bit of erotic nature to it because it was a bit exploitative, that cinema. But it's hammy. It's hammy hammer horror. It's not quite as silly as Beneath the Sea. It's more over dramatic. We've got They Came From Camp Murder Lake, which is a source book for Beyond the Grave. Camp Murder Lake is your 1980s slasher movies, as one might expect. Friday the 13th, Halloween, that sort of thing. And there is another They Came From being worked on. It's very secretive right now. We haven't announced what it's about, but it's currently just being headlined as they came from classified, because we're not telling anyone.
Of course.
But the games have been popular. We've run Kickstarters for Beneath the Sea and Beyond the Grave. Beneath the Sea is available to buy. Beyond the Grave is available to pre-order now. So yeah, it's great to see them get some attention. And thank you very much for having me on here.
Yeah, of course. And if you're watching on Twitch, we've put those links in the chat. If you're watching on YouTube, we will also put those below, so you can get your hands on it, or get your hands sort of on it if you're doing pre-order. And you can find both. They came from the Beneath the Sea and the Quip cards on DriveThruRPG as well. Thank you again, Matthew. We'll do our outros. So, Lysa, can you tell us where people can find you?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. And Bubbles didn't like your crab people, but I loved those crab people. They were so fun. I am Lysa Penrose, brand manager over at Dungeon Masters Guild, which is a marketplace for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. You can follow DMsGuild at DMs_guild on Twitter and Instagram. And you can follow me at Lysa Penrose in all the places. Every single place. Yeah.
Adriel.
Matthew, thank you so much for running this for us. It was super fun. I had a great time. I am Adriel Wilson, the indie publisher representative at DriveThruRPG, and you can find me by emailing publisher services at One Bookshelf if you have a publishing question, and on Twitter at ReindeerB.
Thank you so much. And just echoing everybody, Matthew, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for having us, or not having us, doing this for us. We appreciate it. My name is Meredith Gerber. I am the Century Publisher Relations Representative for DriveThruRPG. You can find me pretty much anywhere as Meredith Gerber or Meredith A. Gerber, depending. And yeah, or you'll see me on the DriveThruRPG Discord. And Matthew, can you finish us up? Tell us where we can find you.
So they can find me on MatthewDawkins.com. They've got pretty much my full list of credits on there. A wonderful website designed by Meredith, in fact. Thank you very much, Meredith.
You're welcome.
And they can also find me on Twitter as DawkinsMP, where I mostly just post Lord of the Rings memes, but there's some gaming stuff on there as well. And they should always check out the onyxpath.com on Tuesday mornings, because we do a Monday night blog announcing how our projects are getting on. And please, please do consider giving They Came From Beneath the Sea some love. It's a great fun game, and I think there's nothing better than a fun game. You know, it doesn't always need to be dreadfully serious every single time. This is a game just to have a lot of laughs with, and it seems to manage it every time.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us in chat as well.
Yes, thank you, chat. Thank you so much. And big thank you to Lysa, who is our tech wizard. So couldn't do it without Lysa. All right, so we will see you next week for DM's Guild. Lysa will be hosting D&D Monsters for DM's Guild Community Jam. Very exciting. So we will see all of you next week. Thanks for joining.
Oh, now Meredith froze. Okay, well, bye.
It's fine.
Bye.